Mike, what do you say?
Jane, do you really think the U.S. Constitution applies to Muslims in Pakistan?
It applies to people coming into the United States.
Based
We're
on
a nation of immigrants. Okay, give me you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, you're huddled
who
masses.
Want to blow people up?
Or are we then reacting out of fear, and is that how we should react, or are we being irrational when we react out of fear?
Let me
you understand the question I'm asking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the qualifier that Donald Trump put on, until our country's representatives can get their act together. Do you know there are 72 employees at the Department of Homeland Security who are on the terror
That's a canard. Yeah.
Jane, come on now.
That was actually
Department of Homeland Security couldn't even vet their own employees, and you think we're going to properly vet
I'm not saying
refugees?
The government is competent. I believe
there you go. Let's trust
wait
him,
a second.
Straw purchase. So you can talk about any gun control measure you want. Nothing would have stopped this person from handing it over to someone else like he did, which is already illegal. The president's common sense gun control measure is to ban anyone who's on the no-fly list from getting a gun. Wouldn't have stopped this guy. Wouldn't have stopped the Chattanooga shooter. Wouldn't have stopped the Fort Hood shooter. Wouldn't have stopped any of the terrorist attacks.
Well, listen, I think we're all, and by the way, gun sales are way up right now. Everyone's armed up.
Let's not get too distracted by gun violence, because plan A for this guy was to blow up the room full of people. So these are two different conversations. Let's focus.
Well, but Jim's talking about diminishing violence. I'll sign on to that, right? Because that will diminish the probability of somebody using a pipe bomb.
Sure, with anything, naturally. Can I tell a quick story about gun ranges? Because I think this is important. So a good friend of mine owns one of the largest gun ranges in the country. He told me 3 weeks ago, 3 Saudi nationals came into his range, and they were on a student visa. That was their ID. You have to let them shoot at the range, because it's against the law not to.
It's against the law not to let somebody shoot if they have a valid ID, period.
It's against the law to not let someone shoot because of their religion.
Oh, okay.
Because they were Muslim. Okay. When they left, they called the Department of Homeland Security. They were arrested and deported because it is against the law, if you're a foreign national, which they were on student visas, to possess a firearm in any way, even if you're renting it at a gun range.
Why would they be foolish enough to go to a gun range then if they don't know that?
Not only foolish enough to do that, but foolish enough to videotape them shooting and also videotape the store itself. That's what tipped off my friend to call Department of Homeland Security in the first place. This was 3 weeks ago in San Diego, and I'll remind everyone, in San Diego, 9/11, 2 of the 9/11 hijackers were on student visas living there. This was 3 weeks ago. This is happening right now.
And we did not talk about the fact that neighbors were concerned about these people, but were so fearful of being labeled a racist or labeled alarmist or being sued as the clock boys, the clock bomb boy, that whole thing, they're being sued for $15 million. Now you read that and you think, well, the neighbors sit in the garage all night.
Because Jane is going to go on Twitter and call this guy an Islamophobe and a bigot and a hater and all the rest.
I don't describe what I'm going to do. You have no idea. I'm going to go out to dinner tonight. I'm not going on Twitter.
All right, when exactly? But she's not going to eat meat.
Oh, no,
that's right.
I know that for sure. I can predict some of what Jane's going to do. It takes time. It's a slow process of indoctrination until they get to the point where they really believe in these principles, to the point where killing someone else on behalf of those principles seems insignificant. That's how brainwashed they become, Mike.
Yeah, really interesting. So I think you're 100% right, but you also got to look at not only what they're doing, but what we in Western civilization are not doing. Why are we not ingraining our kids with a sense of purpose and meaning so that we're not leaving them with a vacuum that ISIS can ever infiltrate? I think that's our failure more than their victory. Well, the argument that because Donald Trump says something that could be perceived as hateful, that people are going to run to ISIS is interesting to me. Because the fact that you're saying...
but that's
No, not run to ISIS, but it makes the point for them.
But Mike, let me put it this way. The ISIS, one of their principles is to try to radicalize us. So we say extreme things, or at least have leaders that say extreme things against, for instance, Muslims. So there might be Muslims within the Muslim community who then I mean, that's what they're saying.
Sure. That says something about the Muslim community, that there's someone who's this close to crucifying human beings and burying people alive and beheading people. That's a big leap.
Different. No, it's different than
Isn't
saying
it a big leap to join that group as opposed to join, wow, maybe I should be on the side of freedom.
No, it's not from that one statement. There's all of the other time.
Even then, why would
you to say that a Muslim is any Muslim's going to take the ban on Muslims personally? That's them that are being talked about by Donald Trump.
No, why wouldn't they speak within their group and say, you know what, we should stop with this whole terrorism thing and clean up our act so that a country wouldn't even have to fathom banning us?
But not by doing it just by banning. There's other ways to go.
Sure. Maybe that's not the best proposal. Okay. But to say that that's going to cause people to run to ISIS in any way is a strange thing.
Well, but it's interesting to me. I heard a intelligence and security analyst today saying that is one of their principles, that they wanted to radicalize us so the Muslim community became radicalized, that people committed on one side, or they sort of polarized.
They should choose our side, even though.
Well, I think the idea of us being a little more moderate and reasoned in our response, I just don't know what the response
Has it worked so far? Has it worked
No, it
yet?
is not. I don't know what the
You want
response
to
is.
destroy ICE?